Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Today we shall be treating quadratic equation. Quadratic equation. Though I've treated this topic before, I've treated it, but it is not clear. So a student told me to work on it again. And that's the reason I'm doing this. And I'm sorry for deviating from the calculus we were treating. So just pardon me. Now, quadratic equation. There are actually four basic methods. Of solving quadratic equation, and the four are the factorization method. The second one is the completing the square method. The third one is formula method or quadratic formula, and the fourth one is the graphical method. Now, and there's also one referred to as the square root method. Now, in this video, I'll be treating the square root method and the factorization method. So I'd like you to just stay tuned, and I'll make another video under complete square method and formula method. Then lastly, graphical method. So today I'll be treating these two. So I'd like you guys to stay to the end of the video to discover how much and how far you can go when factorizing with the factorization method. So now, quadratic equation. Now, quadratic equation has a general formula, which is the ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0. Now, I want to start with the square root rule, with the square root method. Now, the square root method is actually referring to a quadratic equation whereby the b is equal to 0. What happens? I'll be having ax squared plus 0 times x, right, plus c equals to 0. So I'll be having ax squared plus c equals to 0. When I have something like this, that's when the square root method works. That's when what it works. So it's, for instance, if you are given 2x squared minus 5 equals to 0, you can easily look for your x to be what? 2x squared equals to 0, then 5 comes here plus 5. Make a set of formula. X squared equals to 5 divided by 2 by dividing both sides, right? I hope I'm doing this clear. Okay, let me start. I have 2x squared equals to 0 plus 5 is 5. So divide both sides by 2. My x squared equals to 5 over 2. And the next thing is now a square root both sides. So I have x squared equals to plus or minus with 5 over 2. Square cancels root, and my x equals to plus or minus with 5 over 2. And that's all we do. So this is actually the square root rule. Remember, you end up by squaring the root. I'll be taking the square root of both sides in the quadratic equation. And that's that about that. So that's the square root rule. And now let's just run, so let's just now run into the factorization method. Now the factorization method. This is the method. You have to be very attentive here. I have the factorization method. That's 2x squared minus x minus 1 equals to 0. Now we are given a question like this. We are now asked to solve using the factorization method. Now how do you solve using the factorization method? The first rule. Now there are rules guiding it. The first rule is find the factors. Find the factors of AC, and find the factors of AC. That's the first one. What's my A? This is my A. What's my C? So AC is actually A times C. So this times this will give me what? Minus 2x squared. So what are the factors of this? So factors, when we're talking about factors, actually, when we are talking about factors, we are referring to, how do I put it? We are referring, okay, for instance, if we are given 12, we ask for the factors of 12. They are actually these numbers that we either will multiply it, numbers will multiply that will give us this. That is, numbers that can divide this in some way. numbers that can divide this without any remainder. So example, 1 can divide without any remainder, 2 can divide without any remainder, 3 can divide without any remainder, 4 can divide, 6 can also divide, and 12 itself can divide. All these are factors of 12. So if I'm to divide this now, I can say, so if I'm to now say, okay, what are the factors? Well, multiplication of two factors, AC. Which factor will I multiply together to give me the original number I'm looking for? So I can multiply 12 and 1. So 1 and 12 AC. That's how I want to apply it now. So these factors, I will pick the multiplication of these factors to liberate the original number I'm looking for. So I can also multiply 6 and 2 and 6. 2 and 6, right? I can also multiply 3 and 4. 3 and 4. All of these are all equal to what? 12. And they are also the factors of 12. So what I've done here is simply be doing here now. So what are factors of this? I can have my x and minus x, then minus 2x. So it also give me this. Minus plus it will give me this. So I can also see my x and minus 2x. It will also give me this. So okay, another minus 2 and s squared. These two will also give me this. I can also have my 2 and my minus s squared. It will also give me this. So what else? I can also do for my 1 and my minus 2s squared, also minus 1 and then 2s squared. All these are factors of 2 minus 2s squared. All these are factors of minus 2s squared. Now, which of them will liberate the center? So the one that carries s squared cannot liberate because our b does not have any s squared in it. So these are out of the game. So we only have 2 left. So now we check, this is plus a and plus a. Now minus x plus 2, it will give us, this will give us x, that's plus x, and plus x minus 2x will give us minus x. So which of them is equal to the b? This. So this is what we'll be using. So automatically we'll be replacing it with this. So I'll be having, since 2x squared minus x minus 1 equals to 0. So there is one mistake some students do here. So for instance, as I have my 2x squared minus x minus 1 equals to 0, and I've gotten this to be this, they will now say 2x squared minus into brackets. This is the wrong approach. The point is, whatever you are given, whatever you've gotten, just insert it straight. That's x minus 2x, then minus 1, continue like that. So you know all of this is also equal to all of this. So that's just what happens there. So that's about the factorization. Now I cannot, it's more or less like me, 3 items cannot stand in 2 ways equally. So if 3 items are to stand in 2 equal ways, definitely I'll be having an half. But what if I don't want to have an half? I need to make sure there are 4 before I can make them start in 2 equal halves. So now I add 3 variables here, the a, b, and my c, right? And now I needed to factorize them. So for me to factorize, I need to split them into 4 parts. And now they are not in 4 parts. So I can now group them into 2s. So I have this. So I'll look for what's common here, which is my x. What will be left? I'll be having 2x plus 1. Then minus, I'll be having 1 into bracket 2x plus 1. Now there is one thing. Anything you factorize into this bracket must be equal to anything that will be here. So if you have 2x, as I have 2x plus 1 here, this also must be 2x plus 1. It mustn't be 2x minus 1. Once I'm having different items here, therefore I'm having a wrong answer. I'll never get a correct answer. So now, since I now have some item outside and equal answers in the bracket, I can now bring them into 2 parts by selecting the one outside first, x minus 1, x, then minus 1. Then pick one of the one in the bracket, which is 2x plus 1. This is equal to 0. Now I'll factorize it like this. So that's simply factorization. I'll factorize it like that. Now what if I now want to look for the value of s? I'm looking for the value of s. I'll split this into 2 different parts. So I will make this equal to 0, then this also equal to 0 by saying x minus 1 equals to 0, or 2x plus 1 equals to 0. So I pick this equals 0 and this equals 0. So I'll be having 2 possible answers, and that's the reason why quadratic equation will always give us 2 possible answers. So My x minus 1 here, it becomes x0 plus 1. That's my 1 comes here and become plus. So here I'll be having my 2x equals to 0 minus 1. So my x here equals to 1. Or, and here my 2x equals to minus 1. So my x equals to 1. Or, here I divide both sides by 2. So my x equals to minus 1 over 2. So therefore, I'll be having my x equals to 1 or minus 1 over 2. And that's my final answer on factorization. So if you're only told to factorize, you stop here. If you're not told to find value of x, you move on to this point to find values of your x. So that's that about factorization. So, and there is something again I want to reveal under factorization. Now, I got this after factorization. The point is, if I should expand this bracket, it will return back to my question. So you can even use that to check if you are right. So once you are sure which factorizing, then you try and expand the bracket to be sure if you get your answer. Once you are getting your answer back, it settles what you've done is correct. But once you can't get your answer, what you've done is wrong. So now let's check if what we've done is correct or not. So I have x minus 1 times 2x plus 1. So that's equals to 0. Let's expand. So I have x into bracket 2x plus 1 minus 1 into bracket 2x plus 1 all equals to 0. So my x times x will give me 2x squared plus x times 1 will give me my x minus 1 times 2x will give me minus 2x minus times plus minus 1 times 1 equals to 0. So I'll be having 2x squared plus x minus 2x is equal to what? Minus x minus 1 equals to 0. This is what we've gotten as our final answer, which is equal to my question. So definitely what we factorize here is actually correct. So that's how to confirm if you need to factorize what you are doing. And what if you're not asked to look for the value of x and you're not sure if you've gotten the correct answer? You can as well look for you can as well confirm how correct you are by just substituting for the value of x into the question. So this is the question. So my x is equal to 1. Let's try 1 first. So when x equals to 1, what happens? My 2 into bracket 1 squared. Anywhere you have x, you put 1. Minus 1 equals to 0. It must give you 0. So 2 times 1 squared is still 2. Minus 1. So 2 minus 1 is 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. So automatically, since left hand side can be equal to right hand side, definitely 1 is correct as a factor of this equation. And now let's try the other way around. Now when x is now equal to minus 1 over 2, that's our second answer. The row of them must give you the same answer, equal answer. So I'll be having 1 over 2 all squared here, minus 1 over 2, then minus 1 equals to 0. So if I should expand this, I'll be having 2 times 1 squared is 1 over 2 squared is 4. Is 4, then minus 1 over 2, minus 1 equals to 7. 2 here 1, 2 here 2. I'm left with 1 over 2 minus 1 over 2 minus 1. Minus 1 equals to 0. Oh, it is minus is minus 1 over 2. So this will become plus, this will still remain plus. So 1 over 2 plus 1 over 2 is 1. 1 minus 1 is still 0. So definitely what we've done so far is correct, and that's ever factorization. So we'll meet in our next class for the complete square method and the formula method. So, and lastly the graphical method. So I hope these are clear. So that's that. We'll meet in our next class. And